Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. An entire week planned start to finish on a calendar. Yes, you read that title right. And in this episode, I share the nitty-gritty details of how I schedule out everything I'm doing in a week, both personal and business stuff, on my calendar, hour by hour, for every weekday, mostly every weekday, give or take some. And I'm going to teach you how to do it in this episode. And fun thing, you might be like, oh, I remember this topic before. If you've been listening to the show for a while, today's topic is actually a recast episode that you may or may not have listened to when it aired a year ago. And fun fact, this episode is literally the most downloaded episode of all 96 episodes before this one on the podcast. The seriously number one most downloaded, even before that one. That's the first episode that for so many shows is always the most downloaded. Yep, this one beat it. And I've heard from people time and time again that this episode completely changed the way they run, not only their business, but their life. I've had people approach me telling me about how much it impacted them. I even earlier this year at a conference back in January before conferences had to stop, I had someone come up to me and tell them that they share this with their pastor and he shared it with his staff and they were all doing this method now within their work. I get DMs about it all the time still. It's a really, really awesome episode. So if you've never heard this one, right now is your time. And if you did listen to it back when this aired on New Year's Eve of 2019, I think it's time for a refresher. For so many of us, productivity might feel like it's struggling right now as we near the end of 2020, which, let's be real, has been a hard year. And we might feel in need of a new system, a new solution to keep us on track, just something to break up the mundane that might feel like your really hard to manage productivity system. Maybe you need a boost of encouragement and excitement around the way you run your business. And I think this episode can be that motivation for you, a reminder of what using your time well can look like. And just a magical method for really what taking control of your calendar, of your life, making stronger decisions can look like for you. Whether you're a business owner or you work some other type of job, whatever, this can apply to you. So let's do this. Let's plan your entire week on a digital calendar. Here we go. All right, if you are listening to this live, happy New Year's Eve to you. If you're listening to this right now on the day it's airing, or even the week it's airing, it's basically almost 2020 or is 2020, which is so awesome. I've been so excited for this new year, and this likely means that you have all kinds of exciting goals set for your business and for your personal life for this new year. And I'm really excited about this episode because I think it's going to help you get to those goals faster and with more peace. And I'm also very excited about just the chance that I ended up choosing to air this on New Year's Eve because it is so relevant to us setting goals and starting new habits in the new year. And this is something I think you would really benefit from trying out as a habit in the new year. So that title might have freaked some of you out, scheduling everything on a calendar. You're like, well, why would I do that? Maybe it sounds stressful. Maybe it sounds like it would take away your freedom or pointless, like you don't need that, or too intense. I don't know. You could be feeling any of those things. And let me tell you something cool though. This system has totally changed the way I run my life, which makes sense that it would, but in the way that it's changed is that it's given me more freedom, and it's helped me actually learn to create time, which might sound weird, but it totally does, and it gives me peace. So I would say it actually gives me more freedom, not less freedom, because when we take control of our calendar and take control of our time, we find freedom versus those of us who choose to go through life just kind of doing things as we feel. You literally lose time doing that because you end up wasting so much time. So I have a scenario to kind of give you an example with this. And maybe this is you, because this was definitely me for a really long time early on in my business. And I also want to say, although I love productivity like so much, it's always been something that interests me. I don't feel like I'm especially gifted at it maybe, but more so this is something I focus on and work at because I can be easily distracted. Let's just go with that. Anyway, this was me for a long time early on in my business. So say this scenario, you wake up, you're tired, and let's say it's 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. And the first thing you have to do is make a decision about how to spend your morning before you start work. Maybe you go to a corporate job. Maybe you are an entrepreneur and you work from home. Either way, you got to make a decision about how you're going to spend your morning before you go to work. So you think, should I go to the gym? Oh, I don't know if I have time. You'll have that meeting. Maybe I should read a book. Maybe I should do my quiet time. Oh, wait, I need to meal prep. Do I have any meetings today that I need to get ready for? Oh no, I totally forgot about that thing today at 3. I got to get ready for that. And then you're immediately in a like, what do I do right now? Debate with yourself. And it takes your time away from you and drains your energy and your like attention span and capacity to make decisions. And it's only 6:30 a.m. And you're having to make a lot of decisions that really are actually quite simple, but they're not going to feel that way when you're having to make them in the moment, first thing in the morning. So that's how your morning's spent. It's like, what the heck am I going to do this morning? And so now you go and sit down at your desk and you don't have a plan for the day. So you open up your laptop, you go to your inbox and you just start replying to emails because you're like, I don't know what else to do. And my inbox is pretty full right now. And you have this one goal that you're working on, but you're not sure if you have time to get to it before the client call you have, because you have that call in like an hour and a half and you're like, well, I have this thing I want to work on, but I don't really know if it's enough time. So instead, you scroll Instagram. Let's say you write some Facebook content, do some other random stuff around your house, and then you do the meeting. And you end your day realizing you filled it with little tasks that don't move your life or business forward at all. And this happened because you were thinking you were valuing freedom, but you really just didn't have a plan. And it's not freedom. You're falling victim to a false sense of freedom that's causing you not to get anywhere you actually want to get in your life. And I know that sounds like the saddest day and morning, really, but I think that's like the reality for so many of us. And again, that has been my reality where I'm like, I don't have a plan. I don't really know what I'm working towards. And then you end up wasting your time on stuff that doesn't move anything forward. And then, you know, we all know that feeling where you get to the end of the week or the end of the day and you're like, what did I accomplish today? And when you can't really answer that, it's because you were thinking you were valuing freedom, but you were really just wasting your time. And for me personally, I would rather work a lot less and do other things, but make the time I'm working really productive so that I'm actually moving my business and my life forward. So let me tell you about an alternate morning now and an alternate day. So let's say it's Tuesday still. You wake up at the same time, 6:30 a.m. You look at your calendar and you know exactly what your morning routine is that day because you change it day to day depending on other stuff going on in your life. And you actually aren't going to go to the gym today because it's on the calendar tomorrow morning when it makes more sense with your schedule for that day. So this morning you have in your schedule, you're going to have some coffee, you're going to have your quiet time, eat breakfast, and then you're going to roll into content creation time for your business. So now when you sit down at your desk, you have a full inbox and you know though that your most creative and thoughtful work is going to happen first thing in the workday. So you have that on your calendar to write a blog post first or record a podcast or whatever it is. And your inbox reply time is actually scheduled on the calendar for 2 p.m. that day. So you know you'll get to it. So seeing like the 30 emails you're waking up to is okay because it's on the calendar, nothing to worry about. You see how much time you have on your calendar for the task you're about to do to write the blog post and you start working on it. And everything you want to do this week is on the calendar. You have your plans with friends. You have the work goals you need to hit, the personal things you want to do, like a date night with your husband, hanging out with your kids, reading your favorite book, all of those things. It's all on there. And you have the peace of knowing that if you just follow the plan, you'll get it all done. because your past self had your back and she created exactly the week you need to move your life in the direction you want it to go. So see how different those stories are? I'm telling you guys, just if you hear me out on this, you really can have freedom with having a schedule. The schedule gives you freedom to actually relax when you're not working, freedom of less decision making in the small stuff so you can focus your energy on big decisions in the big stuff, freedom to actually hit your goals, to move forward instead of staying stuck. Are you with me? Seriously, if this is something that's firing you up, do something fun. Give me a cheer. If you're in the car driving, or smile, or, do an extra push-up, whatever it is. If you're listening while working out, I know it's where I listen to most of my podcasts, or cooking or whatever. Just be with me and pay attention here. So let me tell you a secret though about me. I hate being told what to do. Absolutely hate it. So I think that's why for someone like me, it could feel a little counterintuitive to be I'm putting my entire life in a calendar and I hate being told what to do. But this really does feel different from that. And one thing I'm learning, especially through a lot of the business books I'm reading right now, that feeling I'm saying of hating being told what to do is extremely common in people who are visionaries and entrepreneurs for their company. Just being I don't like to be told what to do. So if that's you though, I want you to stop associating this situation of having a schedule with that feeling of hating being told what to do, because they're not the same thing. So if you're listening and feeling that way a little bit of but I don't want to have someone's or even the past me telling me what to do, know those are not the same things. And also know that I'm 100% with you. I've always hated being told what to do. And I used to think that that was a big problem that was going to create problems for me later in life, but it actually has been fine so far. So I often get asked though, how I get so much done from people who follow me on Instagram or just buy templates from me or whatever it is. And they're asking the question based on seeing my business through the lens of social media and things like that. And what I'm putting out and feeling I get a lot done. And I actually would say I do get a lot done, but social media isn't always reality. So always remember that. I have plenty of days that feel unproductive. I also have days and weeks where I don't do this scheduling system I'm talking about, but I do know I have my most productive time when I'm doing this. And I also want to point out, I don't work that many hours. I average about 40 hours a week, or sometimes even 30 or 35 hours. And my business, though, still grows like crazy every year. And this is how. It's because I'm not wasting time on the stuff that isn't moving things forward. And that's not to say I don't sometimes waste time on those things, because I am human and I certainly mess up on all this. And I actually need this message I'm sharing today as much as many of you. I need these reminders. People say we teach what we need to learn. That's how I feel about this. This is stuff I also need to learn. So I'm going to go into the process though now, and then I'm also going to give you guys practical examples of this from my literal calendar. I'm going to read you what I have going on in there today, and I'm going to answer some questions that you might end up having, or that you've actually sent me on Instagram already, and emphasize again why this is so important and why this has the potential to change your business. So first though, let me give some credit where credit is due, because I don't want you to think that I just made all this up on my own. I learned stuff from other people just like you're learning stuff from me. So I learned the foundation of these scheduling techniques from two very talented, but extremely different women. So first, Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. You have heard me talk about her on here, and she taught a free webinar on this concept where I believe it was called Throw Away Your To-Do List or something like that. And it was just mind blowing for me. And she also has as a podcast episode. So if you want to listen to that after you listen to this, I would highly recommend it. I really love the way she teaches it, and I've adapted and changed up a lot of it for my own life. So anyway, her stuff is extremely helpful, especially that. And another person who I get so much thoughts and productivity from is Lauren Everts-Bosick of The Skinny Confidential. So she is really a lifestyle blogger, and I follow Lauren less closely than I do Brooke Castillo, but she is a total master of productivity. So anytime I see her come out with topics relating to that, I'm all ears for it, and really love all the stuff she has to share, because she's really good at being super specific on what she's actually doing. And fun fact, when I was an intern in college forever ago, it feels like, I actually used to pitch brands to her, because she's an influencer. And so I would pitch the brands we represented to her to promote. And it was the early days of brands working working with bloggers. It feels like forever ago that it would even be an early time where that wasn't as common, but it was really fun. So I always remember her from that when she was also kind of newer, but now she's like huge. So anyway, those are two people though that I want to give credit to for teaching me these ideas that I've adapted some. And I also want to go ahead and say to you, don't just do exactly what I say because I'm telling you it works for me. You have to figure out what works for your life. And if you already have an amazing, productive way to schedule your days, then you might not need what I'm saying, because what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. You have to figure out what works for you. And also what worked in one season might not work in another. I could be doing something totally different a year from now, but like this has been what's been working for me for multiple months now, almost the whole year really. So that's why I want to share it. But just remember, you can always make it your own and take what works and leave what doesn't. So that's just a little advice on everything in business and life. You don't have to like take what someone says they do as like the only way to do it. You need to make it your own. That's how I like approach everything, is like, this person has something valuable to teach me. How can I either try what they're doing exactly and see how it works, or adapt it for myself? So, all right, let's go into how this works. So I prefer to do this process I'm about to share on Sunday afternoon or evenings, just some point on Sunday. And you could actually do this on Monday morning. That's actually when Brooke Castillo recommends doing it. But for me, I'd rather go into the work week with like the total plan in place. I do not want to have to be doing this on Monday morning. I want to just be able to like dive into everything. So I do this on Sunday, and it's literally either afternoon or evening, totally depends on what my schedule is like that day. And it usually takes me, I think, like 30 to 45 minutes. Although I really wish I would have paid attention, because I'm recording this on a Monday, and I did this, yesterday, and I like did not watch how long it took me, but I meant to. So I actually don't know how long it takes me, but I feel like it's in that range. Like it's definitely not much longer than that. So here are the steps though. Again, picture it. It's a Sunday afternoon or evening. For me, last night, it was Sunday evening, like 7 p.m. And the first step is you're going to sit down, you got your laptop out, and you get out a piece of paper. It needs to be paper, okay? Paper is key. And I want you on that paper to write out everything you want to do the new week and everything you have to do on the sheet of paper. And I really think paper is key, because you're going to think differently than if you were typing this into your phone or into a to-do list app or some random document, whatever. You're going to think differently with paper. And like I said, when I do this, I usually have my computer out too, with my calendar app already pulled up, so I can see what's already on the calendar. Because usually I'll have some meetings for work or personal things that are already on there that have like been added possibly even like a month ago or a year ago even, and things like that. So when I did this last night, I actually already had 3 evening events on there. And then I had a flight on there to go out of town, and then 3 work meetings already on the calendar. So I had 3 events at night, 1 day flying out, and then, like 3 work meetings. So you want to write it all down, everything you need to do on this sheet of paper. And I'm literally getting like just like a computer sheet of paper that you would like print from, just like blank sheet of paper. And I usually will like group the personal stuff together so I can kind of see that separately. But besides that, I'm just writing like train of thought in my messy handwriting, everything I can think of that I need to do. Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. And you'll likely end up filling this blank sheet of paper all the way full. I usually do fill it all the way. And I want you to just write until you're out of things to write, like get it all down. Ideally, you want to also write in the mindset of completed task. So for example, instead of writing, I want to work on email marketing. So like it says work on email marketing, you would instead write draft 2 emails, put them in email marketing platforms, schedule them to be sent. See, like that's way more specific because it has an outcome. So I want you to write tasks that have an outcome attached to it, not just busy work. So it's not going to say work on my website. It's going to say finish the about page. You know, that kind of thing. So get more specific than that. So once you feel like you've really gotten it all out of your head, like everything you could possibly want to do, and it might feel overwhelming. So know too that not everything you write down has to end up going on the calendar. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but like I want you to write down all the possible things you could want to do. And I don't want you to forget personal stuff either. For me, I usually, if I already have it on my calendar, I don't write it again. So like I said, I have 3 events at night this week, 2 of which are Christmas parties. I'm recording this, the week before the week of Christmas. So I have a lot of stuff going on like that. I don't write that all on the sheet of paper because I already have it in the calendar. But I'm like knowing, okay, I actually already have like multiple personal things on here for evening. So I'm not really like planning to text a friend to ask them to hang out one night. Okay, so you want to get it all out. And then the step 2 you're going to do is write down any obstacles to doing those things. So sometimes there are no obstacles, but sometimes you'll realize that the task you wrote actually has a couple steps involved in it before you can complete it. Things like when other people are involved or like one thing needs to happen before another thing can happen. And I have an example for you guys. So yesterday when I did this, I wrote down wrap all Christmas presents. And that is like that's a completed task. Like I said, it has an actual outcome of presents ending up wrapped. But then I realized I actually can't complete that without doing 2 other things first. So we have family to shop for still. So I need to buy their gifts. And then on top of that, some of those people I actually don't know what to get them yet. So I have to first figure out what to buy them and then buy it. And then I can wrap the gifts. So I have to right beside that, do like an arrow and write out what those obstacles are. So that would be figuring out what to buy and then buying it, which with those 2 things, I actually have decided I'm going to let my husband deal with that because I've done most of the Christmas shopping and he's going to know what to get those family members better than I am. So I'm kind of like, actually made a note to myself to like text him and remind him to like take care of that. And that's something he's going to handle. So another work example though, if you want a different play on this, if I put down on my sheet of paper, I need to record this specific podcast episode that I'm recording now. I could look at that and say, okay, that's about an hour of my time. It'll probably be an hour-long episode. Well, there's actually more to it than that, though. I actually have to outline it first, then I have to record it, and then I have to do all the other stuff I do afterwards to get it ready for my team. So see, there's multiple steps there. So I can't just say record episode if I haven't outlined it yet. So I already know that, so I don't have to like go in and write the obstacles. I already wrote it that way. But just to see there's multiple steps. Let's say you wrote down that you want to get a new website, like go buy one. There's more to it than that. So you need to think, what do you have to do before you do the process of actually purchasing the website? Purchasing a website template from someone is like maybe a 5-minute thing. But there's more to it than that. It's researching templates, researching website builders, possibly asking a question, looking through all the options to figure out which one is right for your brand, all these different steps. So you want to write down all the obstacles and then think about how you're going to put those on your calendar too. So once you have exhausted your brain and you have it all out on your blank sheet of paper, got it all out, everything you can want to do, we're going to move on to step 3. So step 3, I want you to look at that list and cross off what you don't want to do or what you want to wait until next week. What you might realize is that some of the things you wrote actually aren't moving things forward. I've had that happen before where I write stuff down. I'm like, you know what? Like that can actually wait. Like I could do that, on the plane on Friday when I'm flying there, or that could wait until the new year. I've had that thought with some things as I'm, again, recording this right as the year is coming to an end. So cross off what you just decide you don't want to do or what can wait until next week. And then in addition to that, I also want you to circle or highlight or whatever the items that you think are the most important. That you're like, if I got these like 2 to 3 things done, it would be a successful week. I typically like to call these champagne moments, which is a whole nother podcast episode, but I like to have a couple things each week that are like, these are the core focuses that I'm working on that would make it worthy of like a champagne clink at the end of the week because you got those things done. So I want you to focus on that of like, which are the major things, and you're going to make sure those are like 100% on the calendar with enough time. And then also, what are some things that you're like, you know what? I actually don't want to do that. Like maybe you wrote down just now that you want to like work out 5 times this week. And then you're like, wait, that's actually unrealistic. I'm not going to work out 5 times. Let's reduce it to 2 or whatever it is. So now the big step 4, put it all on your calendar. So for me, I do this on my computer on iCalendar, which is just the Apple calendar app. So you could use Google Calendar. You could use some other random calendar app, whatever you want. You could even use a paper calendar. But I like iCalendar because I can access it easily from my phone. Like it automatically syncs. So like, this morning when I woke up, I can see like, okay, here's my schedule for the day on my phone without having to go get my laptop. When someone asks me, are you free in 2 weeks to go get lunch, I can look and see I don't have anything on the schedule for that time. Like it's awesome. And I also like it because my husband also uses iCalendar. So I can see, he's not as organized as me with it. He doesn't do this whole system I'm talking about, but I can see, he just does like one category for all of his stuff. And so I can turn that on and then see what meetings he has. And then the stuff I have shared with him, he can also see. So he doesn't see my whole schedule though. Not everything I do hour by hour, but he does see some of it. So that's why I like digital. I like the Apple Calendar because it's just literally what I've always used. Even before I did the system, I was still scheduling like big things in life on that calendar. So you could also use a paper calendar, like I said, but I think digital is better because like I said already, you can access it anywhere. It's also easier to change things later because you're not erasing stuff. You're just dragging stuff from one day to another. And when I go through this process of adding it to my calendar, I actually end up moving stuff around a lot. So that was like writing that all in permanently on like a gorgeous, pretty paper calendar that I'm like so excited about that I got for New Year's, got for a Christmas gift. It's going to be like more stressful, I think, to like have it be moving stuff around a lot. So anyway, but do whatever you want. Do what works best for you. Maybe try it both ways even. Okay, so let's get back to this. So like I said, circle or highlight the things that are most important. And then this step though, what you're going to do, and I feel like I can't even explain this that well because you just need to go through it yourself, but you're going to strategically add everything you wrote down into your calendar. And this takes practice. You're going to get better at it every week as you do this, better at like estimating how much time stuff takes, better at remembering all the things you have to do because there might be something you forgot to write down that you need to add. Like for example, I don't write this down on the paper, but girls got to eat. I got to take lunch breaks. And there was one week where hilariously, I did not schedule lunch breaks on like any of the days. And then I was like, I'm always take a lunch break though. Like, how did I forget that? I normally take like a 30 to 45 minute lunch break at home alone, or if I'm going out with a friend, I'll go for longer. But I'm like, how did I forget that? So it takes practice. You got to get used to stuff. So be patient with yourself. And this step is the step that might take the longest of adding it all to your calendar, because you want to be really smart at it and think ahead of like what makes the most sense. Like, when do you have the most energy? Like, you already have this one meeting and you have this like 1 hour block between these two meetings. Like, what makes the most sense that will take less than an hour to fit in there? All of these kinds of things, thinking about due dates. When does that need to happen? When does this need to happen? It's going to take a while, and you might put something in one spot and then think it through more and move it to another day and time. You might put something on there and then delete it completely. So it's a little bit of a process, and I mark through everything as I add it to the calendar on my sheet of paper. I like just mark it out so that I know it's already on the calendar, and I can easily see like, okay, this is stuff I haven't added. This is stuff I've already added. So some quick tips though for putting it into your calendar that I know is stuff you guys are probably already wondering. So first thing, I like to color code everything. Let me look at it actually. So in iCalendar, I guess they're calling it different calendars, I guess is what it's called. It's like you have multiple. Let me look. I have multiple calendars. Yeah, I think that's what it's calling it. My default calendars work, but I actually have 10 different ones that are all different colors. And weirdly, like, I just know what color goes with what. So at a glance, I can like see where my time is going. I have one color that is like everything personal or break related. So like my lunch break goes in that color. All these Christmas parties go in that color. I have another color for anything travel related. So like when I have like a conference or something, I'll put that color and then have it go multiple days, like set it to all day. So I see that like that's what's happening then. I have a color for design work, a color for content creation, and a color for like generally just falling into work. And then I have a calendar that Adam and I both share where I color stuff that color, so he sees it too. So anyway, that's just a little bit there. But yeah, I like to color code everything, see where stuff's going at a glance. Second thing, you want to leave margin for yourself. So don't do every single task in there back to back to back. Remember, you are human and you need breaks. And sometimes something does take slightly longer, especially when you're getting used to this. So I like to leave margin for that. So usually every couple tasks, there's like a 15-minute thing where there's nothing. Or I might schedule a longer lunch break knowing that during that time I might respond to an email or whatever it is. Or thinking about driving time. You want to think about all that. Another thing I do, I write notes to myself on the item, just in the description, not in the notes section, but literally just like in the name of it. And sometimes I'll put something in and I will think to myself, ugh, I know I'm not going to want to work on that when I get to this. When I get to this thing at Thursday at 3:30, I'm not going to want to do it. So I will write a note to myself on that step, which might sound funny, but it really does work amazingly for me. Let me look. I'm going to see what notes I have written. I literally have on there for a workout, you can do this. I just do all kinds of notes like that. So anyway, I'm going to get to more of that in a minute of like why I think that's valuable, but know that you can kind of like, you don't have to be so like stringent of like, you just wrote workout. You can write workout and then write what kind of workout and then write a note to yourself about it. I like to encourage myself, my past self, encouraging my future self. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. 2 more tips for all of this. So first thing, I do not do this for Saturday or Sunday ever. So I just want you guys to know that. You totally could if you wanted to. And that's not to say, though, I don't put stuff on my calendar those days. Like if I had an event or something going on, I would obviously have that on the calendar, but I'm not scheduling out everything hour by hour. I prefer for those days to be more of just like a bit more go with the flow. I usually do still have a plan of like, here's what I have on the agenda today. But generally speaking, I like for those to be pretty empty. And sometimes I don't do this for Fridays. So a lot of times it can easily be just 4 days where I'm really focusing on scheduling like this. Another tip, I like to block like things with like things together and focus on doing things that have at least 30 minutes to an hour worth of time with them. So for example, if you need to respond to like one specific email, it'd probably be better for you to just do that response than put it on the calendar that's going to take you 2 seconds to do that email, or for you to group it all together with 30 minutes in the inbox. With things like my podcast, I had blocked all together for me to outline this and then record it. And then I'm also today doing marketing stuff relating to it. I'm doing it all on one day versus doing like on Monday, I I outline, on Wednesday I record, and on Friday I do the marketing. I'm grouping it all together because I'm going to be more focused and more aware of the project when I am grouping it all together versus kind of scattering that in with a bunch of other random stuff. So that's really the idea of like block scheduling a bit, but I want you to try to apply that to your calendar. That's also going to make it more effective than if you're just putting a bunch of 10-minute tasks on it. We want to do things in larger chunks. And on that same note, you want to pay attention to knowing how long you can focus for. So like, for example, if I'm working on designing someone's website, I likely do not have 4 hours in me of focus on that one design. I might have 3, depending on what time of day it is though, I might only have 2. So I want to schedule 2 hours and then schedule a break, whether that's an actual break or a break doing something that is not graphic design. So think about it like that and know your limits on how long you stay productive doing the same task. So those are just some more little tips on that. So the final step though that you're going to do is you throw away that to-do list, that piece of paper where you wrote everything out. You're going to throw it away because there's no need for it now. So you can throw it out and have peace because all the things you need to do are on a schedule that now you just have to follow. There's no more wondering like, oh shoot, I forgot that one thing on the list, or oh, I got to add this other thing. And now my to-do list has something from like 2 months ago that I never got to. You're just going to follow what's on the calendar. And so I think, some of you guys have heard on past episodes me talking about to-do list. And I think having a constant to-do list where everything just piles up and you forget about things or you're working on 1,000 goals at once is really exhausting. But I do think to-do lists have a place for specific things. Like for example, in my project management system, we always have lists going of like all the steps involved in something. So that's not what I'm talking about when I'm saying like, let's not use to-do list. And I also like to keep a to-do list for errands where then I'll group them all together and go run them all at the same time. So I'll keep a list of like, got to go to Walgreens, got to go to the post office, got to go get my oil change. I keep that all on a list. I also will keep lists so that when I have a random business idea, I can just put it on there and not have to like act on it immediately. So I do think lists have a place, but I think generally having a schedule is better than having a to-do list. If you're going to pick one way to do it, do the schedule that starts with the to-do list, but then turns into a schedule. Now, once you have your calendar and you're like, I'm ready to roll, here are some things that might happen and certainly will at some point happen. I would imagine if you're anything like me, this stuff happens to me. And I want to give you some tips for it and some mindset stuff around this. So you get to something on your calendar, right? You put it on there and you just don't want to do it. You're bored, you're tired, you're not feeling it. You'd rather go scroll Instagram for 15 minutes. And oftentimes those things that you end up not wanting to do are the things that maybe previously had just been sitting on your to-do list for months, So you feel like, I just don't want to do that. And the truth is that by Thursday, when you made the schedule on Sunday, you are not at the willpower level you were on Sunday when you made this plan. Your willpower's not there anymore. And you're just possibly not as determined, not as committed. And it's the same reason, the same concept of why people eat more unhealthy foods late at night versus in the morning. It's because your willpower goes down as your energy goes down through the day. You get tired. The same thing happens with our weeks when it comes to scheduling. So I'm asking you now, what kind of excuses are you going to tell yourself about the things you don't end up wanting to do? And then what are you going to say back to yourself? So this is why I put notes in my calendar. Like I said a minute ago, I write notes to myself in the description. And I do this because I can already know what's the excuse I'm going to come up with. What's the thing my mind is going to say I should do instead? And how does my best self respond to that? So I see that let's say I put working out at 6:30 a.m. on my calendar and that comes, I could easily say to myself, you're tired. You should just hit snooze. You already worked out once this week. You have a big day. You just need to relax. And then I can think though, knowing that that's something that will happen to me because yes, that 100% happens to me somewhat often where I'm like, you know what? I really don't need to work out that much. I'm going to skip it. So what would help me actually do the thing I want to do? Because when I think about working out, that is 100% something I want to do. I always enjoy it after. It moves me in the direction I want to be in of staying healthy. And so what would help me actually do the thing I want to do? Maybe it's that I set out my workout clothes the night before. Maybe I go to bed early because I know I'm going to wake up at that time to go work out and I want to be prepared and not as tired. Maybe I ask a friend to go with me so I have accountability. Maybe I sign up for a workout class that's not going to give me a refund when I skip it. You got to figure out what you need to do to stay with the plan. And the same stuff applies to your business. I know I just used like a personal example, but you guys can apply that to the fact that you don't want to work on designing your website, that you are tired of doing email marketing, that you'd rather scroll Facebook than work on your finances. Like whatever it is, you got to think about what is the excuse you're going to come up with and how does your best self, the self that has your highest good in mind, respond to that. So got off on a little tangent there, but here's what I need you to do. Figure out what you need to do to keep with the plan. Okay. And I think remembering this is really key. So if I try to deviate from the calendar, deviate from what I put on there, I remember that the person with my best intention and my best interest in mind created that schedule. She set the big goals for me. She wants my business to grow. She is smart and determined. And what would she say? That girl on Sunday who wrote this calendar, what would she tell me when I'm thinking, but I really don't feel like designing a website right now? She'll probably tell me it's just a feeling and it will pass, and just get started and you'll be so happy a year from now that you did. She has your best interests at heart. And isn't that like so amazing though? And some of that might be like too much for some of you guys, but I love thinking like this. It's amazing that your current self can plan your week for your future self. Then when it comes time to do the things, yourself in that moment has to care for and respect what your past self prepared for you, who that girl was looking out for you, and then thinking about what your future self is trying to achieve. And then when the future self gets there, she's going to look back at you right now and say, thanks, girlfriend. So I know the past and future self stuff can be confusing, but for me, it really solidifies things and makes things like more clear. So because in a year from now, when you've done the thing you wanted so bad, when you've hit that goal, your future self is going to be thanking you right now for doing that thing on the calendar when you actually wanted to just scroll Instagram. She's going to say thank you for actually sticking to what you said you were going to do, for working towards the goals we have. And you did it. So she's thanking you. So think about that and plan like that and put things on your calendar that drives you to where you want to be on this date a year from now. Put things on your calendar that move you towards where you want to be 20 to 30 years from now, and put stuff on your calendar that will even just make the next week feel easier. Like all of those things all apply together. And I actually tend to have stuff in my calendar that relates to all of it in any given week. I might have something that relates to cultivating friendships, which is something I'm really going to care about when I'm older, when I'm in my 60s and maybe not working anymore. I put stuff on my calendar that's going to make next week easier when I'm taking the week off to go meet my new niece. That's where I'm flying to this Friday. I put stuff on my calendar that's going to make that feel more peaceful because I already know the emails are scheduled. I already know I have my social media planned out. I know like my inbox is tucked away and everyone knows that I'm not available. And I'm doing stuff too that's going to help me hit the goals of where my business wants to be at, where I want my business to be at. So practice doing what you say you're going to do. That's like the biggest thing here, and respecting yourself that much. You honor your future self when you don't give in to the instant gratification all the time that you end up feeling like you want. So like when you're ignoring the thing on the calendar because it is way more instantly gratifying to instead go snack in the kitchen, which I'm totally guilty of doing, or instead scrolling on Instagram or watching Netflix. Not that any of those things are wrong. I think all of those are actually great things. I love watching Netflix and snacking and Instagram. But when we're ignoring the things that are really going to move us forward in exchange for instant gratification, it doesn't get you where you want to go. And a great example of this, if you had time on your calendar, let's say for a meeting with me, if we don't really know each other that well, but for some reason we're meeting for coffee as the first time meeting each other, you're probably going to be there and you're going to be on time because you would respect my time as someone you're meeting in real life for the first time. We tend to do that for other people, even for like family members and friends. We tend to respect their time. But then we oftentimes don't do the same thing for ourselves. So what I'm telling you here is do the same thing for yourself. Show up for yourself in the same way you would for your friend or for me or for whoever. Show up for yourself in that same way and do the thing you put on your calendar. And don't plan all this stuff. Like don't do the whole calendar thing and then just ignore it all. The calendar doesn't change anything in your life if you don't follow it. So you got to trust yourself to follow through for yourself on this calendar. And that is a process to get to the point where you really can trust yourself that you're actually going to do the things you say you're going to do. And when you make decisions ahead of time, though, and honor the decision, you're able to take the willpower out of it. If you can truly trust yourself to do the thing, because you just have to do what you decide you're going to do. You just have to honor it. And it takes all the little decisions, because trust me, I'm sure you know too, but it's exhausting to have to make little pointless decisions all day. And scheduling in those little pointless decisions ahead of time, you can focus your brain power on making the bigger decisions that matter. And you're not exhausted when you start work at 8 a.m. because you had 30 minutes worth of time trying to figure out what you were going to do in the morning. So that was a little bit of a tangent there too. But now I want to get into some more points about all this to help you do it, because I know you listening, you might have some questions about a bunch of random stuff. And these are some questions. I think I only have 2 or 3 of them, but I'm going to tell you guys my schedule too. But these are some questions that some of you have sent me on Instagram when we've talked about this a little bit on Instagram stories. So first thing, what if something takes longer than you thought it would? So this happens. Things take longer than we think they will. And the first thing, though, is you try to make it take as long as the time you allotted for, when you're doing the thing. And I think one of our biggest productivity problems as usually small business owners is actually giving ourselves too much time to do things. And when we do that, we waste time and we make easy decisions difficult. So don't give yourself unlimited time to do everything. Don't put on your calendar that today I'm going to write a blog post, got all day to do it. It does not take all day to write a blog post. It does not take all day to write an email sequence. All of these things does not have to take all day. And when you stop giving yourself unlimited time to do things, you'll make decisions faster and smarter. But the truth still is, even with all of that, is that sometimes things take longer than you thought it would. And what you can do with that is either decide to go ahead and move on to the next thing, even though you're not done, because sometimes we need a break. Sometimes if you, let's say you did a lot, 2 hours to write a blog post, it's a really long post and you're not done with it. Sometimes you still need to stop, because writing the same thing for 3 hours might not be productive for you. I know for me, doing something too long, I quit being productive. I need to take a break. I need to shift. I need to move. So sometimes it's a reason to stop just because of that. But sometimes you could be I'm in the flow. I'm close to being done. I'm going to add 30 more minutes to this and shuffle my calendar around a little bit to make this work. So, and again, that's another reason why the digital calendar is helpful, because you can more easily do that in there. So work with focus so you can relax and freedom when you're not working. That's the biggest thing, is just focus on what you're supposed to focus on. And it's up to you. Sometimes you want to let things take longer and add more time and adjust. That's another reason why I put margin in my calendar. And oftentimes I'll have an entire day where I don't schedule anything, knowing that stuff will come up and that things might get shuffled around, or that I might end up wanting to take that day off or working a half day or whatever it is. So I sometimes vary up on stuff like that. Another question, what if an emergency or something unforeseen comes up? So I still try to stick to the schedule as much as possible. And at least when it comes to our jobs, few things are ever actually truly urgent. And oftentimes we can replace what's important with what feels urgent. Someone saying they really need a response on this one thing in this email. It feels urgent to them, but it doesn't have to be to you. And that might not be what's important. What's important is what you put on your calendar. And I do know, though, however, that life emergencies do happen. I would say pretty rarely, though, but that would be a time where you would ditch the whole calendar. Let's say something happened with, I don't know, just something random that makes you have to change up what you're doing. Yes, of course, ditch the calendar and you adapt and move with things. But typically with work, things aren't actually going to be urgent. And you want to put time on your calendar for things like emailing, responding to emails, admin admin type stuff, all of that kind of thing where stuff can fit in there. Like sometimes I'll do like in a given week, like one day where I put like an hour and 30 minutes for that kind of stuff, because my inbox, if you guys heard me do the recapping 2019 episode, my inbox is something that has been a little overwhelming this year. Even as I've been recording this, I've gotten more and more emails just sitting here the last like 40 something minutes I've been talking. And those are something I'm going to have to respond to. But I made this a priority of this is the first thing I'm going to do today. And I have time scheduled where I'm going to tackle the inbox. And nothing in there is so urgent that it can't wait a couple more hours till after I've done the other things I have on my agenda today. And when I'm done recording this, I probably will look and see what those emails are. And if they did feel like that person really needs me to reply, I might reply. So it's not like you don't have to be so strict with yourself. Go with the flow a little bit. Even though this calendar feels like it's not going with the flow, that's still how I approach everything in life. So now, I want to give you guys an example of a day for me, and I'm actually going to tell you guys my schedule for today at the time of this recording. And I wish I had a more exciting week. Like when I was looking at everything I scheduled, I was like, oh, maybe there's a day that I can like share like what a typical day is like or something kind of cool. But this week is honestly kind of boring work wise. And I don't have typical weeks. Like no one week is the same, like literally whatsoever. And this week in particular, Friday, I am going out of town, catching a flight at 11:50 a.m. on Friday. And so I'm not even going to really be working that day. That morning, I'm actually going to be packing. I'm going to try to do a workout before I leave and then head out. So I really have a 4-day work week. And this week is me focusing on getting a lot of stuff done before Christmas. Because when I leave Friday, I'm going to flow straight into as soon as I come home, I'm going to leave again for Christmas travels, basically. So, yeah. And so a thing too, to go ahead and tell you guys, total honesty, I overslept this morning, which happens. And I don't have a huge reason for it. I was really tired because so funny, on Saturday night after my husband and I hung out, I stayed up till 1 a.m. reading, which is so bookworm of me, but I was reading a book that I actually started like 2 days earlier that I was just so into I couldn't put down. And so he went to bed and I stayed up like 2 more hours reading. And so I was especially tired anyway, but we slept until 6:40 a.m., which I had scheduled though for me to wake up at 6 a.m. and start my quiet time and then get ready. And that stuff got cut a little short. And the first thing on my schedule, which was actually today, I had put on there admin stuff as the first thing, because I sometimes like to have a moment to like kind of get back into the workflow where I'm like doing emailing a little bit and things like that. And I moved that till later today. So I had to like literally from the moment I got up today, actually like adjust things because of oversleeping. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys though what I had today. So, like I said, I had the quiet time. I had doing my hair this morning, doing my makeup and eating, which this is going to sound, first of all, let me just interrupt myself here. I know some of you ladies listening will totally be able to relate to me on this, but you know, I don't wash my hair every day. I wash my hair probably like every 3 days or 4 days sometimes. I shower every day, but I don't wash my hair every day. And I like to plan when I'm going to wash my hair, which sounds so crazy. Maybe it doesn't. In college though, my roommate Jocelyn and I realized though that like I was washing my hair every day and it was unnecessary and it was actually making it like be worse looking. And so I stopped doing that and I like trained my hair. You can literally read about this online to not have to be washed that often. But because of that, I like to plan when I'm going to like wash my hair around workouts and stuff. Again, this might sound so crazy, but like today, for example, I did get my hair all done and all of that. And then tomorrow though, I'm not going to do anything to my hair because I curled it today. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to wash my hair and then do it again. And then I won't do it again for a couple more days. So anyway, that is so weird. But like, I actually do think that detailed when I'm putting all those things in the calendar. I literally have like for my showers, like for tomorrow, I have just a regular shower and then just doing makeup and not doing hair and then getting dressed because I have a big meeting that day that I want to look nice for. So I literally put that kind of stuff on there. So anyway, back to what I was saying though. I had curling my hair, do my makeup, eat, and then I had emailing, which I ended up skipping because I was still getting ready because I overslept. So then at 8:45, I had podcasts outline the episode about scheduling your calendar, which is what I did. And then I had for 10:30 10:30. I had allotted 8:45 to 10:15 to do that because this is a longer episode. I knew I had a lot more thought to put into it. I don't always take that long to outline, but for this I did. And then from 10:30 to 11:30, I had record the episode. And then, which you can hear right there, even I said I had like a 15-minute gap, which actually I would have fixed myself a drink, my Spark drink, to drink while I'm recording this, and kind of took a minute to like decompress after outlining it. Then after that, from 11:30 to 12, I have my post-recording work, which is where I write the show notes. I send stuff to my team and some things relating to that, export the file, all of that. And then I have another gap, which I actually think recording this will take me slightly longer than I allotted time for. So that's good. All the stuff will get shifted a little bit. Then I have at 12:15 to 12:45 a lunch break. And then after that, I have a meeting in Nashville where I've allotted the travel time. The meeting's from 1 to 2, but I have travel time before and after that already in there. I like add the travel time separately just based on how long I know it takes. And a cool thing about using things like a digital calendar, Google or Apple or whatever you want to use, is you can put in the address of where stuff is and then have it set to tell you when to leave. So like I have the address of where I'm going, and then my phone will literally tell me it's going to take 20 minutes to get there. You need to leave now, or whatever it is. It's so cool what technology can do for us with stuff like this. So when I get back from all of that at 2:15, I am going to work on onboarding stuff for someone who is joining my team, which is so exciting. I have a lot of stuff I got to prep for that to get stuff ready for her. And then after that, I have 2:15 to 3:30 allotted for that. And then 3:30 to 4, I have some email marketing stuff put in that I have to do for my business. And then at 4 to 4:30, I have another email marketing thing where I'm actually going to write the email that goes with this episode I'm recording right now and go ahead and schedule it for the day this comes out. Because again, I'm about to go into Christmas mode and I want to go ahead and have some stuff like this completely done. And then at 4:30 to 5:15, I have various admin tasks. That's literally what I wrote, which because I missed my emailing time this morning, that will be when I respond to emails. I'll end up, and I actually could end up responding to emails earlier because I think all my email marketing stuff won't take as long as I have allotted. So I could even end up starting on this task sooner because I get done with those sooner. So then I have another little gap. And then from 5:30 to 6:30, I have wrap Christmas presents, get ready for Christmas party, and then travel there. And then at 6:30 till probably like 8:30 or 9, I have a Christmas party tonight. One of the two this week. So that's the schedule for my day. And again, today's not an especially exciting day. I was like, I wish I had a really cool day to share, but it's not that exciting. But that's the kind of stuff, just to give you an idea, that I'm putting into my calendar. And for everything I just said, it's all like color coded. So like the stuff that's personal is in green. That's my personal color. And then when I have workouts, which I'm not working out today, but I would put that in a certain color. Meetings are all in a certain color. And a cool thing, when people schedule a digital meeting with me on Calendly, it automatically adds it to my calendar, and it even has their phone number, all the ways they answered questions, all of it in there. And so I have a color for that when it comes in from Calendly. And then I also will add my own stuff in that same color. So all my meetings, whether they're digital or in person, are all the same color. So just some random stuff there. And then when I look at the rest of the week, I have some time doing website design. I have a long meeting tomorrow. I have a big chunk of time tomorrow too, where I'm going to do all my goal setting for 2020. I've started on a little bit, but haven't finished it. So I've set aside a bunch of time for that. I have a lot of different points where I'm going to do email and stuff. I'm actually going to record another episode this week to work ahead. So this week's kind of like a lot of focus on marketing stuff and kind of catching up before going into like holiday time. So anyway, though, that's an example of a day for me and a little bit more about what's on the calendar. And remember, just make this work for you. And every week for me looks different. I wish I could say I'm one of those people that like, has, and maybe I will be at someday, but has like where, this week I'm working on only podcasts. This week I'm working on only graphic design. For me, it ends up working better to have more like a day that's focused on one thing, and then a day that's focused on another thing, but with other stuff still thrown in there. So you have to figure out what works for you. And yeah, you guys, that's basically it. The last thing I want to say, if you do want more details on this, I really do think Brooke Casillo's masterclass on this was really great. I got so much from it, and I'm going to link to that in the show notes. And I really hope you try this for yourself for 2020, even just try it for a week. And another thing I want to remind you guys is that you don't have to schedule the whole week at once. It could also be good to just try one day. Like, just do your tomorrow on the calendar and then try it and see how you feel. See if you get more done. You might notice that you don't put enough time for some things. You might notice that you get it all done and you feel amazing after because you weren't making little decisions the entire workday. You were just working on what it said to work on. And again, the more you do this, the more you'll learn that you have to allot blank space for yourself. Like, as soon as I'm done doing this, I have the post-recording work, which I'm going to do, but then I have like a 15-minute break of nothingness. So I'm going to choose what I want to do with that nothingness, and then I have a lunch break. So you guys see, I'm thinking like I just exhausted myself by talking for a kind of long time, and then I have another meeting today where I'm also going to be talking a lot. So like, I don't want to just go straight into something else that's really exhausting. The post-recording work thing isn't that exhausting for me, and then I have a lunch break. So I'm giving myself margin to also chill out and take a break because my voice kind of hurts right now. Okay, so to close out this episode, I have a quote actually from Brooke Casillo that she says in her masterclass when she talks about this. She says, you can live your life in reactive mode, or you can live a deliberate life where you plan what you want to do. And that's her like call to action with this whole thing, is that you can choose to live your life in reactive mode, or you can live a deliberate life where you're planning, hey, this is what I want to do with my day. We only have so many of them, so let's plan them well. And to close this out, I wish you the happiest New Year's Eve if you're listening to this live. And I'm so excited to continue to support you in 2020 with this podcast and with lots of new and exciting products and things like that in my business that I'm really excited for you guys to be able to get your hands on. And if this podcast helped you and you think you have a friend who would also benefit from this, share this with them. Send them a text message. There's a way when you're an Apple Podcast to like click the share button. I really don't even remember what it looks like exactly, but you can click that and you can literally text it to a friend. This is not a business podcast episode. So really anyone, your friends who work in any kind of job, stay-at-home moms, anyone can end up benefiting from this type of system. So send this to them. Encourage them to give this a listen. I love it when my friends send me podcasts. I hope they love it when I send it to them because I send lots of podcast recommendations. But yeah, share this. And if you end up doing this, you guys, share your calendar on Instagram stories, on Facebook stories, wherever you are posting, and tag me in it. I would love to see your calendar and cheer you on. I really am like super curious though to see what you guys do with this and how it ends up looking when you're scheduling out your day. So tag me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm at Elizabeth McCravey, and I cannot wait to see your calendar. And I really hope this helps you achieve your big goals you have for 2020. I'm going to have more episodes coming out, more about productivity stuff and expanding on this kind of concept. So once you have this scheduling thing down, I think the other episodes are also really going to be helpful to you if you like this system. So anyway, I will be back next week with a new episode. Thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.